Uh, Now, can you tell me who is the student?
Shraddha.
All right. Hello, Shraddha. Morning.
Suraj, good morning.
Morning. So, welcome to this Python developer program, right? I'll be
Yeah.
explaining you today, how we can start this Python developer program and what are the tools that we would be covering and how will we proceeding with this course, right, Shraddha?
Okay.
Yeah. So, I'll share my screen to you. Just give me a
Sure.
moment. I hope my screen is visible to you, Shraddha.
Yes, it's visible.
That's great. So first of all, we'll understand, right, what this course is and what is the meaning of this Python developer course. What are the opportunities regarding this course and what are the syllabus and the curriculum will be completed, right? So first of all, do you have any knowledge what basically Python developers do and what basically this course is? Because see,
Uh,
whatever we are doing, we should know what we are doing and what tools we are covering, what language we are covering, and why this language is totally different from other language, right? So,
yeah.
yeah, please, Trevor, tell me.
So actually, I'm familiar with Python. Like I've learned it in college and I've did many projects using Python.
Yeah,
And I've seen the syllabus of this course. And I think I'm familiar with fundamentals and OOPS concept and everything.
that's
The
great.
newer thing for me would be AWS and web development.
Okay, that's really great. So we'll be understanding all these things in a brief, today that what we be covering and like what is AWS and what is this cloud means, right? And why
Yeah.
we everybody is preferring AWS cloud for the development processes, right? And what deployment, right? What basically a deployment, right? So these things we would be covering in this class, right? Brief introduction about all these things, right? So tell me, Shraddha, why Python? Why, if I would ask you, let's say there are two choices you have, right? Two choices you have. Let's say either you can go for JavaScript, right? And
Hmm.
the second would be, let's say, Python, right? Okay. Uh, can you, first of all, tell me what is object-oriented programming language, and both of them, like from both of them, what is whom to be considered you as an object-oriented programming language, and what is the benefit of like going with each of this language, right? That you should tell me.
Okay, so I'm not familiar with JavaScript as much, but in Python we have many inbuilt libraries and functions, right? So it is easier to code with Python. And OOPS concept, like object-oriented programming, is like basically you're creating an object and like using it throughout your code. So it's easier instead of writing the same code again and again. You can have structure written once and like you can refer to it again and again.
So,
So
Shraddha, I would ask you, let's say, is it Python an object-oriented programming language? What's your point of view on this thing?
sorry, I didn't get you. Can you repeat that?
Right? If somebody going to be ask you if Python is an object-oriented programming language or not, so what would you say?
It is object-oriented programming. Like I've used OOPS
If it
concepts
is
in
not
Python.
really object-oriented programming language,
I think so, yes.
no, right? So this is an actually a really different term in Python. So we consider Python as a semi-object-oriented programming language, not fully object-oriented. The reason
Oh,
is, so the reason is, see, you should know this reason. Let's say I ask you to define, a function, define a function that add two values, right? That add two values, right? And I asked Shraddha, would you able to do that? And Shraddha will say, yes, I would able to do that because it's so easy in Python, right? I just need to take two variables, right? I need to create a function. That's it, right? Other than that, is anything you need in defining a function who add two values, Shraddha? Do you need anything else other than that? Shraddha, are you there?
yeah, yeah, I'm there.
Is there anything, any other thing you need in Python for doing, having a function which is adding two values? No, right? You can easily do
Yeah.
it without defining any object in class. You can easily write this code. Got it? Got it? And in the
Yes.
same time, if I would ask you, do this thing while defining object in classes, you will able to do that too, right?
Yes.
So what does it mean, right? It means either if I'm defining object in classes, right, the same task can be, achieved, or without it, this particular thing we can achieve. But in other languages, right, those are fully object-oriented programming languages. We cannot, go for a single step without defining object in classes. Are you agreeing with me?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Totally understand.
That's mean Python is having that much of flexibility, right? We can go for any task or any simplified task without defining this objects in classes, right? And with defining object in classes both. So if somebody is going to ask you, let's say, Shraddha, in your interviews, are you in your college or are you working professional?
I'm in profession actually.
So what you're doing these days?
I got my H1 picked, so I'll be appearing for interviews since October. Sorry, from October. And I was working with Infosys for past 3 years.
That's really great. That's really nice. Right. So I hope you understood, right? Like if somebody is going to ask you like what is in Python and like if somebody is asking in a very normal way if Python is an object-oriented programming language, then you should say yes, it is object-oriented programming language. But if the second question would be like this, if Python is fully object-oriented programming language, then you should say no, right? It's semi-object-oriented programming language because Python is having the flexibility of going with oops or not going with oops, right?
Yes.
So I hope this thing is quite clear to you, right? Let's just understand because,
Yeah.
just go through what we'll be covering in a very brief, right? Because I hope, like, two other people are not here, right? So, okay. So I
Yeah,
will not
yeah.
like read that, but like I'll make you understand, right? And I'll also, so have you ever worked on AWS in deployment
No,
part? So I'll
never.
make you and also, right, how we go for the deployment, right? So, Shraddha, can you tell me what's your, daily task in Infosys, right? So that I can understand their progress.
Actually in Infosys, I was working in networking, so this Python developer position is new for me.
Right? But you have worked in Python, right? I took it
Yeah.
previously,
Yeah,
right?
actually learned Python in college and I did one machine learning project using Python for my master's.
Okay. So, like, you familiar with machine learning also?
Yes.
That's really great. So it would definitely gonna be helping you in this thing, right? Because
Yeah.
machine learning is important, and even though like I'm also a computer vision engineer, right? So
Yes.
this is quite familiar with me too. So see, Python is not having a single advantages, right? Learning Python will give you multiple advantages other than different language. Like if you're learning JavaScript, you've been restricted to the web development, right? Majority of web development, right? Apart from it, if you're learning any other language like Java and Combat, like these are the languages which are dedicated languages. But Python is having that flexibility of going from one domain to other domain very easily. Either you're going for the web development, either you're going for the game development, either you're going for this backend, or either you're going for the machine learning and deep learning and artificial intelligence. So it is like having a wide domain, right? So let's just not waste time and make you understand, right, what are the tools and things which you will be covering, right? And let me know if you have any doubt in this introductory part, right? So,
Okay.
Shraddha, do you have installed any kind of IDE in your laptop, like
Yeah, I
Jupyter?
have PyCharm.
That's really good. That's really good. So we'll be working on Jupyter. Like you can meantime work in PyCharm also, right? The same stuff. Okay,
Okay.
that would be great. Right. So what we'll be doing today was like let's say, yeah. So first of all, the first would be the introductory session, right? So intro session will be having this, getting familiar with the IDE, right? And second, basic arithmetic operations, right? Because see, in anyhow, I know you are familiar with Python, but like in anyhow, I have to version of the skills from starting, right? So I'll be
Yeah,
doing
yeah.
this in operations, right? And a little basic of concepts of variables, data type, right? Data type. So data structure and all, right? So this would be a combination of like you already know about all these things like list, tuple, dictionaries, right? So this would be covering in this section, right? Okay. Apart from it,
Yeah.
like let's say we'll be having a control statement, or we can say the control structures. Right? So what do you know about control structures, Siddha?
So like if else conditions, right? If else, while, and for.
This would be, if LFS statements kind of things. We will say the statement for some things. And other than that, like if I would ask you, then it would be, looping statements, right? So we'll be working on this for loop, while loop, these kind of statements, right? Apart from it, we'll be working on break and continuous statements also, right? And nested loops and, loop control. So these are some of the things which we will be covering, right? Apart from it, like we'll be covering Apart from it, we'll be covering functions and the modules, right? So this is important part because anyhow we have to go for the functions to make our work smooth. So we'll be covering these functions, right? Scope and the building functions and the creating the modules. So this really an important task, right? So I'll make you familiar about different functions which we'll be using, right? Apart from it, important topic is of file handling and exception handling. I hope this thing is, this thing, right? File handling,
Yeah.
file handling and exception handling. Because anyhow, there would be some of the errors which we would be getting. So we would know how to handle that, right? So file handling and
Yes.
exception. Apart from it, the most important topic of, because see, uh, I hope you have work on, machine learning. So tell me, Shraddha, like what was your experience in working as, in a project of machine learning? Was the project of from deep learning or for like the simple conventional machine learning? And how advanced Python you have used in your machine learning?
Actually, it was deep learning. I used convolution neural network for the project. The project was moving object detection using CNN.
Okay.
And I think like we used advanced functioning. Like I had to install TensorFlow, and like mostly the
So
machine
you
learning
use
operations were
use
performed by TensorFlow.
you use postures.
What is postures?
So post means like, okay, let's just not get into this, but it's like more like dynamic motion detectors, kind of thing, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It was that.
Was that right? Okay. So since you see, like we already have a lot of building functions, right? In TensorFlow and these, PyTorch, Keras are like
Yeah.
built-in classes, right? In actually in Python, okay. But like I'm
Yes.
about OOPS. Like, have you ever used OOPS, right? Not like taking built-in function, building classes, but actually coded anywhere. So
Uh,
you already deploy that particular stuff.
I didn't deploy it actually. It was just a master's project, so I used it in PyCharm. Like, the code was in my PyCharm and I just ran it.
So what actually you would be doing, right? Like me, I'll connect this thing with AWS also, right? Because see,
Yeah.
whatever you're hours of backend. Yeah. So I'll make you understand how the things we would be, you know, see, if you will be able to learn the deployment part, right? So then, no matter whatever you're doing in backend, you'll be able to connect it with this, deployment part, right? Either you are working as a web developer or either you're working as a machine learning engineer or, any sort of projects you've been doing, right? So let's just learn this thing, how you will be connecting this particular stuff which you have done or which you will be doing it in the future, right? I'll just give you a
Okay.
brief idea so that you will be able to understand, right, what actually in AWS and what how we will be using that, right? So I'll ask you a few questions. Just be with me and tell me, okay?
Yeah.
Okay, let's keep your your model, right? Let's say you created a model of postures, right? Posture, or you say a of motion, right?
Yeah.
Motion detection. Motion detection it was, or more, it was what it was like a specific term.
It was object detection, like moving object would be detected and tracked throughout the screen.
Tracks. Okay, okay. Detection. Okay, that would be okay. That would be good. So we actually say is posture or like motion detection. Let's say motion detection. We got it right. Now you
Yeah.
may have trained that in a number of epochs, right?
Yeah.
So if you have, let's say uh, there are many people around here. No, I thought like people come up. Okay. So let's say you come up and you created this posture and motion detection, right? So Shraddha, I would be asking you one thing. Let's say you run it for 200, 300 epochs, right? I don't know how many epochs you have been, assigned to that model, but let's say you run it for 100 epochs. Let's say 200 epochs, right?
Okay.
Let's say. So you must have got a weight file, right? You got the weight
Yeah.
file.
Yes.
So we got the weight file. So for the understanding, weight file is actually the output of the training, right? Am I correct?
Yes.
So
Yes.
this is very important for us, right? Very important. Very, very important. And this is actually, I would say, the heart and the bone of the machine learning model. Am I right?
Yes.
So let's say this weight file is can be in any kind of extension. Like let's say that this is in pt.pt or in what format you use
It was .pt.
.pt. So it's in PyTorch. Okay.
Yeah.
So let's say that was in PyTorch. Okay. So let's say this thing, this particular stuff, you have to make a backend by this stuff, right? So I'll just telling
Yes.
you the roadmap, how you will be connecting with an AWS, right? So it's really important for you to understand because see, if you're able to see the picture, what you're doing, right? You'll able to understand. Okay, Meena. Okay, so Meena is
Yeah.
the same student.
Hi, Suraj.
Have
Yeah,
you?
yeah.
It's really nice to have you here, right?
Yeah, yes, Suraj. Actually, you know what? I was asking, I want Python with AWS training. So I am put here. So I got confused. The timing is at the same, like we
No,
used to
no.
attend the data analytics training, right? So I was thinking like that. Now only I got a phone call and I joined the class. Yeah. Sorry, I missed it. 30 minutes.
Okay, totally fine. You can be right. Okay.
No, you
Yeah.
can
Uh,
join the same 7:30 class also.
Okay. The class starts at 7:30, right? 7:30 to 8:30.
Yes, yes.
okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, Shraddha, you have this weight file, right? Okay, Shraddha.
Yes.
Now, what do you do? What you have done, maybe, see, this was your output at the end, or like, have you done anything apart from it? Tell me.
Oh, this was training, right? When we train the model and then we try it on like real-time videos. Like you
No
can
column.
feed, yeah,
Uh,
any video to the code and it should
was like,
detect.
so you did inferencing, right?
Yeah.
So this was like the output it was, and you just predicted out that output with the videos, like how this particular thing is showing you the result, right? That's what that was, right? and you check
Yes,
the.
yes.
But see, in the production environment, this wouldn't work for you. Okay. So what
Yeah.
you do, you actually check, right? And check the result, check the validation, and then you again go for the system, right? You again go for the system, right? You do hyperparametric tuning, right? Let's say adjusted the weight, adjusted the, learning rate, adjusted the, let's say loss function. So, and then again you go for this. So this is a continuous cycle until unless you got the final weight that would be the best fit for you, right?
Yeah.
Am I correct? Now,
Yes.
once you got this weight file, so your next step would be in Python to create an F file. What your next step would be to create what? An F file.
API, right?
F file. F file. App.py.
Okay.
Right.
Okay,
So
okay.
see, what this app.py is actually a backend file, right? It's actually a backend file. So now you are working in backend. This is the backend. This is
Okay.
what this actually means. It will consist your weight file, right? Not weight file directly, but it will be in your directory. But you will be giving a variable. Let's say giving a variable as model equal to let's say you got this dot pt, let's say in 34th training, so you'll be like train 34 dot pt, like this. I hope in that way you maybe got your file,
Yeah.
right? Train 34 dot pd. Now you will be using your model, like, see, before that, where we were training on the pre-trained configuration, right? Either you are going for the TensorFlow, either you're going for the YOLO V8, either you're going for any, UNAT. There are a lot of. I hope you understand these things, right? So,
Yeah.
what you were doing prior, you were like training on a pre-trained structure, right? Once you trained your model, you have now training weight with you, right? So this training weight would have an architecture that is stored in this particular weight file, right? So now you will make a structure in what format you need, in which way you needing your models to detect, that motion detection. So you will create a app.py file using, where you would be using what? You will be using Flask API or design. Getting it?
Yeah.
Getting it? This is what, like, you're creating an API, right? You'll be giving a route, route. You will be, creating by this app.py. You will be creating what? You will be creating a, let's just, you will be creating a address. You will be creating what? An address.
Yeah.
Getting it? Right. So now, since you're creating an address from this, you will have to store the dependencies also, right? Let me just, give you an example by, just, okay, let me just, my screen is visible, right? My screen is visible, right?
Mm.
Again, let me just
Yeah,
give
it's
you an,
visible now.
let me just give you an example. Let me open my Visual Code, right, for you. Okay, I'll give you an example to make you understand more about it. So you can
Okay.
see here, like, I have made a model, and I'll make you understand how we did that, right? See, the architects would be same, okay? The architect would be almost the same for any roadmap. Like, either you're going for the web development, or either you're going for, this machine learning part, right? Right. See, my screen is visible to you.
Yes.
So, see, see, this is the kind of an app.py file I was talking about, right? So, see here, what I did, I have created. So, have you ever worked in Docker?
No.
So I'll be explaining you how to, deploy things with Docker also. Okay. To, to, like, not to getting that dependencies error also. Okay. Okay.
Okay.
So see,
Okay.
so what I did, like I created what? An app.py file, right? So this app.py file is containing my weight. Like this was my weight, last 42.pt. I hope you're understanding, right? So this is the
Yes.
model I have given, right? So I have created app by using Flask, right? So I have given this underscore name underscore. I hope you this thing is clear to you, right? I have
Yeah.
imported my, right? I have created the request, right? Because see, in anyhow you're doing a backend, right? So you will be asking for the request. Okay. So I have given the get request, I have given the post request, I have given the option, right? So you will be giving the post request and the get request, right? In your route. Okay. So in that way, this actually a backend file. This is actually a backend file. So once you have done with your backend file, let's say you were done with your backend file. I hope this thing is clear to you, right? So let's say I have created this file and I got this at the end. What I got, I'm getting, I'm asking to run the host in a particular address, right? So in which address,
Yes.
let's say this is something which I really wanted, right? So once I'll execute this thing, let's say I execute this thing. Okay, let me just clear this thing. Okay, let's say I have executed this thing. So okay, and this. Like this. So once I'll execute this thing, so it would run in an address, right? Let's say it would
Yeah.
run in an once it will run in an address, it will give you an IP, right? Right? It will give you an IP that would be a local IP because we are right now working in local environment, right? I'll make you understand this thing, right? I'll just go into this. Once it will execute it, I'll make you understand right how this thing is working, and I'll show you also, right? So I'll show you now. See, let's just consider you created an app.py file, and now and this app.py file containing some code. In your working directory, there would be some dependencies like requirement.txt, right? So what is requirement.txt? I know I hope you understood this thing. So this requirement of
Yes.
text file would contain your dependencies, right? Whatever the packages and the things you will be installing in, right?
Yes.
Getting it together? I hope this thing is clear to you, right? So once you will have your requirement file, I hope you have your weight file here, whatever the weight file. So you have your Docker image, right? Docker image. So what is actually a Docker image, Shraddha? What is Docker? Do you know what Docker is?
Uh, no.
A container, right? So in the conventional deployment, what we do, we actually, let's say, Shraddha, you're using, let's say you're using 3.9 Python, right? Let's say, okay, okay, Prasada.
Yeah.
So you using, let's say, 3.9 Python, and you deployed your model in 3.9, right? But in production environment, let's say, you know, there would be a dependency errors that can throw, right? Because you should your model should be like this. It should run in each and every operating system, right? Not in Windows, but in Linux also, in Ubuntu, right? These are some of the basic stuff, right? So not to get a dependency errors, there is a term called container command. What this container is, Frida, containers is actually used to store all your dependencies in a single bucket. Got it?
Yeah.
It's called Docker. So once you got this Docker and you put all your dependencies out over here, you can actually deploy your Docker image. So you created an image and you deploy your image into your cloud, right? Once you have deployed your image in a cloud, it would run a container over here and your model would run, right? But if you will be using the conventional way of, going with conventional way of, having eye on every dependencies and all, lot of time you have to restart your work because there would be dependencies error in the production environment, right? So not to get those dependencies errors in your production environment, we go for the container, right? I hope you understand this thing, right?
Hello.
Hey, sorry, your voice was breaking actually.
Now it's fine. Is it fine now?
Yeah, it is fine now.
So see over here, you can see over
Address. Are you able to see this address, Shraddha?
Yeah, I'm seeing it.
Shraddha, are you able to see this address?
Yes.
Hello.
Hello, am I audible to you?
Yeah. Priorly was not right. So are you able to see this address, right? We run this backend file. We got this address.
Yes.
Yes. So once you got this address, what you can do is either you can, you integrate your front end with this file, right? Or you can, maybe you may have done like, by copying this address, right? And go to your front end file, paste that over there, and you can run your front end. So I'll go and I'll let you see how this thing would work when you'll be connecting your front end, right? So let's just figure out where my front end is. This front. So this is my front end, right? So let's just execute this file and I'll show you how things are. Right. See over here, my front end come up.
Yeah.
So I'll be selecting any kind of texture, and let's say I am selecting an image file. To let's say I'm selecting this image file. Okay, I want to segment wall. I'll go for wall and I'll segment, right? So see over here, this processing is done. So in what way this processing is going on? Because see, in my local backend is running, right? And the backend give me an address, and that address is in my HTML page, right? That HTML page is of front end, right? So I need to integrate my backend with my front end page. Shraddha, are you able to connect these things?
Yes.
Right? So once that address matches, right? So this processing will be, it will take a little time because, this model is really heavy. In the meantime, we'll go and I'll make you understand the next step, right? Okay. See over here, right? So how now we connect the deployment, that is, I really wanted to tell you, right? So what we do in AWS, in AWS, I hope you may have gone through AWS a little. Right? In AWS, we have instances, right? That is called as EC2. What we call as, because see, AWS is very big, right? Very, very big. Okay. So there are like particular parts we should understand while deploying, right? Lot of parts. So this is called EC2. EC2 is basically what? Instant.
For instance, yeah.
So I hope you may have taken an instance while working with your GPUs, right? So we created this instance, right? So in
Yes.
instance we have multiple options, right? To launch an instance, right? Or to stop an instance, whatever the instance is running, right? Okay. So these are some of the options we have. Are you there, Shraddha?
Yes.
Okay. The next step would be, let's say, there are S3 buckets. What they are? They are S3 bucket.
Okay.
Okay, so they are S3 buckets. What does it mean, Shraddha? What is S3 bucket?
I have no idea actually.
Okay, so let's say, Shraddha, I'm asking you one thing, right? Let's say you're working in your laptop, right? Okay, and
Yeah.
you're downloading a song, let's say, right? So when once you download your song, where your songs goes,
Downloads and downloads.
right? So like, is that a connection established by your local? Yeah. The connection is established by the web page with your local, right? Because the web page is
Yes.
giving the request to download it and to save it in your local, right? In that way the things work. Am I right? Right, Siddha?
Yes.
So similarly in AWS, what happen is we have S3 buckets, right? S3 bucket, you can take it as a container, right? What it does do, it holds the data, right? Or it store the data. Whatever the data you are, there would be two requests, right? Get request and post request, right? Whenever you have been posting a request, that data would be stored somewhere. And the storage of data, the stored data would be in the S3 bucket. Where it would be? It would be on S3 bucket.
S3 buckets.
S3 bucket would have the capacity to store your data, whatever the data you have been feeding in or whatever the data that particular stuff is getting, right? So S3 bucket is used to store data. The more data you store, the more the Amazon will charge you, right? So the Amazon is like, charging you for not only for the services, but also for the data storage capacities you have. Okay. So in that way, we actually work on S3 bucket. So S3 bucket is used to store
Data.
right now. See, this AWS while deploying, right, we have to use command line interface. Either we can go for the command line interface, right? See, you may have work on your terminals, right?
Yeah.
So similarly, AWS has its terminal called CLI. What it called? CLI. CLI. Yeah. Okay. So CLI, what does it mean? CLI means command line interface, right? So here we actually, give command. See, in your AWS, you have an option to select the operating system also, right? So you preferably, right, like people in production environment select Linux system. Are you aware about the Linux system?
Yeah.
So why we select Linux system? Why we go for Ubuntu and all? Why not like going for the usual one?
No idea. I think processing speed is fast because I've used Ubuntu actually for my project also.
Exactly. So Ubuntu is what? Ubuntu is what? Ubuntu is a what kind of operating? Is this a
It's
kernel or?
Linux, right?
Yeah, it's Linux, but like Linux is basically kernel, right? Okay.
Yeah.
And Ubuntu is an operating system, kind of. You can,
Yes.
okay. So basically, people confuse with all these things. So why we choose Linux is first of all, Linux doesn't have any dependencies, right? So it is free and active. Okay. This is something which is make it very important. Other operating system has dependencies. Once you are running anything in other operating system, it would unnecessarily going to be downloading lot of things and also be depending on other things, right? But Linux do not depend on other stuffs, right? So once you whatever the task you've been working in Linux, it would be dedicatedly giving you a reflection of only that task, right? So it doesn't have any holdings with this Ubuntu and Linux, right? So that's why in deployment we considered Linux. Okay.
Okay.
So see over here, I got this response. Are you able to see the response?
Yeah.
So what the response is, read out for me.
Okay, so like you want me to read everything or like
No, just the
what am
warning.
I understand?
Yeah, whatever you're understanding.
Okay, so it's telling us that we have 25 background images. Out of that, 2 are floors, 4 walls,
Great.
and the processing speed.
Okay, now you can see the result over here. See the results. Right. So priorly, what the picture was, I'll show you the picture also, right? So what I did, like I choose this texture, right? The second texture, okay?
Yeah.
So the second texture is in the walls, you can see. Let's say
Yes.
I am not like, let's say I want to select the floor, right? Let's say. And if I would like, process the floor, it would be coming up for the floor because the model is itself trained it for wall and floor. So what it is doing, it is segmented, right? It is segmented
Yeah.
in floor and wall, right? So I do not want you to, make you see this model and all. I just want you to understand how the connectivity is of front and back end is. So this page is
Yes.
is a kind of a front end, or we can say a testing page, right? This is a kind of testing page, right? I just created this testing page to see what actually I'll be seeing in my front end, right? But you can see over there. You getting it?
Yeah. Yes.
Got this? So now like the floor is be getting segmented, right? So you can choose any file, let's say. So in that way the response come up, right? So either there are two options. Either go for let's say either you are going for sorry either you are going for, let's say I'll choose this thing. Okay. So either you are going for integrated HTML, right? So what is an integrated HTML? Shraddha, do you know what is
No
integrated
idea.
HTML? So integrated HTML is a kind of a you create a template file, right? And you put your HTML, your particular HTML page inside the backend. Where you put it?
Okay.
Inside the backend.
Inside the backend.
So what you got whenever you have been working in this particular stuff, whenever you are getting the address just like this, what I got over here, right? In that way,
Yeah.
right? 126. So once you click in this address, you will be redirected to the front end directly. You need not to find your HTML page and to click on. See why I have segregated my HTML page, because I would be making a better front end in the future, and I'll be integrating this HTML, this address with that front end page. If I do not want to integrate, I have like make a HTML front end page all on a one shot, and that model will not be having association with other stuff. Then I have to come up with integration, right? Got it, Shraddha? I hope
Yes.
you understood. If not,
Yes.
like let me make you understood a little bit more, right? So see over here, right? You can choose other stuff also. So in that way, the things work, right? So what you're doing it in a nutshell, you are working in a backend, right? You're working in a backend, you created some files, you created some dependencies, you put it in a Docker, you created an image, you deployed that image in an AWS. How you deployed it in an image in an AWS, you will have to work, you have to give the command line interface, right? So
Yeah.
we have a dedicated command line interface in this AWS. That command line interface will push the Docker image into pull the Docker image into its EC2, right? First of all, you have to create an instant, right? So how you'll be going to create an instance? You have to launch an instant. Then the instance will be launched. Then there you would have a lot of options. I'll make this and there would be a lot of options, right? The first option you got it. So the first option you got it, instant type. I'll make you understand what instant type is. So once you created an EC2, you launch an instant. Instant will give you, a network, right? Where you would be putting your model is. So you can launch an instant. There would be instant type. So there would be an option called small, medium, and large. What does this mean, Shraddha? Do you have any idea? Shraddha, are you there?
I'm there. I actually don't know what that means.
So small mean like, you can put a model, like let's say you have a small model, so you will be putting it over here. That doesn't need any long or large bandwidth. So you will be going for the small, then you will be going for the medium, then you'll be going for the large, right? In that way. Other part you'll getting is like, instant structure. So instant structure, you will be giving, your something like this, like either you want the micro, right? Micro with no GPU, right? Either you want medium with GPU, right? So in that way, this thing work, right? You select the instant type, you're going for the instant structure, then you created that launch an instant, and then after that, you'll be putting all your dependencies on a fun task, and you will be running the container, and that's it. Your model is actually deployed. Got it?
Okay. Yeah.
So in that way, we actually, work in if I would have to explain you it in the terms of front end, in the back end, or in your web page, similarly stuff goes, right? So we actually work, like in creating a web page also, we actually work on first of all, we create a front end, like, because it's more about the front end, right? In web page, right? In web development by Python, it's more about the front end, and the rest of back end would be take care by the Flask API or the Django API, right? Similar to this stuff. Have you ever worked in
Yeah.
any stuff? Yes.
No.
No. So similarly, because why I have like given you this picture to make you associate what you have done badly with whatever you will be going to do in the future. I just
Yes.
took this machine learning stuff to make you understand a little more, and that was my intention only. Okay.
Yes.
Yeah. Any other doubts that you have? Because that was a first session, so I just wanted to build a connection, whatever you had worked till so far, and how if you would have known this deployment part, how would you have deployed in your cloud, any cloud? So clouds are many, right? Not AWS. Azure is one thing, Google is something. So there are a lot of cloud in, you know, we can deploy it in anywhere, right? So it would give you in public access. What is the meaning of deployment, Shraddha? Why we deployed? Can you answer this question? Why we deployed? There should be
So
something.
whatever operations we are doing, it's in our local systems, right? So
Exactly.
when we deploy it, we put
Give
it
a
in
public
production
address.
environment. Yeah.
Actually, we give a public address so that anyone can access that thing, right?
Yeah.
From anywhere. So this public address will give, this model or any kind of front end or back end to an environment where it would be accessible to all, right? So
Yes.
this is an intensity, right? So in that way, we actually work. Any doubt you have, Shraddha, you can ask. Like, just make you understand the introductory part, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Uh,
Anything
no doubts.
understood, right? Like, I hope you understood.
Yeah,
A
I
brief
understood,
introduction. Yeah.
I
Tell me.
really appreciate like you telling me the difference between, like at start you told me difference between JavaScript and Python,
Mm-hmm.
and then Windows and Linux. Like those are the things I didn't know. So I really appreciate that.
Okay, thank you so much. Apart from it, like, you understood, right, how we connect the pipelines of, like, back end, front end is, and how we, why we use Docker. So, like, if people here, let's say, 3 to 4 people are agreeing, like, we'll be going with Docker, because see, Docker, why I'm like pushing more on Dockers, because Docker is a future, Shraddha, right? These containers
Yeah.
are future, because if you would be going with a conventional deployment, then it would be tough for you in the production environment, because in any time that can throw you an error, dependencies errors, right?
Yeah.
And dependencies error are very hard to resolve, because you're not able to figure out what goes wrong, because
Yes.
maybe update would come and your prior working the package wouldn't work. Okay, maybe that your says your particular stuff is working in Windows operating system but not in Mac, let's say. What you will do, right? So to make
Yeah.
an connectivity uniform, we actually work in Ubuntu, and we created an image, and we deployed in the production environment with an image, right? So just I just have a very small request to you, Shraddha. Go and explore these stuff, like Ubuntu, Kubernetes. Have you ever heard about Kubernetes?
No.
So Kubernetes is basically, see, when we deploy, Shraddha, let's say deployment took a deployment as let's say a marriage party, Shraddha, right? So, and
Okay.
let's say I'm just connecting, right? I'll make you
Yeah.
understand what it is. Shraddha, are you there?
Yeah, I'm there.
So Shraddha and Meena, just like take it as an example. Let's say you have function in your house, right? Let's say a marriage party or whatever, right? So you are asking your family members and your relatives to come and to have a dinner, right? So let's say you have a make made a food for like 500 people, let's say Shraddha and Meena, right? And let's say 600 or 700 people come up, right? How do you manage? Meena, what do you do then? Meena, are you there? Shraddha, are you there?
Yeah, I'm there.
So how will you be
Yes,
managing all
Suresh.
these stuff?
We'll divide them in subgroups.
See, so you have
And
only
then like,
500. 500 for the people of 500, you have food only, right? And they have like 700 people out there.
oh, okay.
So
So like, we'll
will you
try
ask
to
them?
distribute
Will
evenly,
you
like
ask?
we'll
Will you ask them to not
so
to eat much?
no, not okay.
So see, this is called traffic control. Okay.
Okay.
In the website, right? We'll have a traffic. Okay. So our website or whatever we have like hosted in the servers, right? In the deployment. See this thing like, whenever you have been running any web page, you are, giving a request. Okay. You are asking a request. You are putting a request. Okay.
Yeah.
So similarly, whenever the relatives are coming, they would have a food, right? So similarly, when you'll have a lot of traffic in your web page, right, your your web page might get crashed. Similarly, whenever you have a lot of relatives in your house, that is upper limit of 5,000, you may be a little disturbed. Okay, similarly like
Yeah.
a web page, right? So to control that particular stuff, we placed, this traffic controller, right? So
Okay.
Kubernetes is a kind of traffic controller. So what you will be doing at that time when you'll have a lot of Meena and Shraddha, a lot of relatives in your house, you will have a Superman cook with you, right? So what he'll do, he'll instantly make 200 people food, right?
Yeah.
So in that way, the traffic would be managed, right? So what you'll do, you'll ask, the 200 people to come up and to have like, a starter while like the 500 people are eating, right? So you'll give them, a starter, whatever the starter Shreya and Meena like, you can give them, right? Apart from it,
Yeah.
just to wait for them a little while, and after that you can serve them the food, whatever the cook had made, right? After a while, right? So similarly, Kubernetes control the traffic, right? So you will have a lot of traffic which would be coming in series, right? Right. So what that Kubernetes do, it control the traffic in a parallel way, or in that way that it could handle the request and the site wouldn't crash. Got it?
Okay. Yeah.
So AWS also has a traffic controller, right? So AWS itself has a traffic controller, but when it goes to above limit, we use the different tools like Kubernetes and all. Okay, getting it?
Yeah.
I hope the dumb example would work here, right?
No,
I
no, no,
don't
it
know, like,
totally worked. I
all
understood.
right. Okay, Meena, have you understood what does it mean?
Yeah, yes, Suraj. And I have one thing. So this is
Yeah,
the first class, Python with AWS.
yeah. This is
Or
the first class because there were no other people around here, so just make understand Shraddha like what would be the structure. I hope you understood it well, right? So we'll go through very deep from tomorrow, maybe the day after tomorrow, right?